If you work in a hospital setting and you have access to some of the following materials, you can actually create your own manual breast pump. First, I have a set of gloves that I'm going to put on. Next, I'm going to show you some of the materials that you might need. One is a 14 gauge angiocath, or any sort of needle really that's big enough to make a hole. And the second one is an 18 gauge angiocath. I actually preferred to use this one because it's actually a little bit longer at 1.88 inches, although this one should work just fine also. And really you just need the catheter portion of the angiocath. And then we have a 20 ml syringe, okay, as well as a 3-way stopcock, as shown here. And I happen to have a Tegaderm or any sort of tape would do, as well as a sterile specimen container. Probably any sort of sterile saline bottle would work as well. Anything that will really be able to fit your nipple. So this is sterile on the inside. I just removed it from the vial, from the bag itself. And I'm going to take my 14 gauge angiocath, and I'm going to use this really just to make the first hole. And I'm going to choose to do it kind of on the top and apply pressure there. You could use sterile gloves if you were really picky, or if you have a preemie and you really need that milk. Now, I've made the needle poke, and you can see already the catheter portion maybe is buckling, but I'm just going to run that in a little bit to make sure I have a nice nick there. Anesthesiologists can recap their needles. So, and I have an 18 gauge angiocath now that I'm going to open. And really I just want the catheter portion of things, so I'm just going to put the 18 gauge through the hole and remove that needle. So there's your catheter and your needle. And now I'm going to connect that to my 3-way stopcock. As you can see here, I'm going to take off this, attach that there, and I have my 20 gauge, I'll just keep calling it 20 gauge, 20 mil syringe. I'm going to take this cap off here and connect my 20 mil syringe. Alright, now the Tegaderm I have here, or whatever tape you might have, is really just to help secure this here to make it a little bit easier for you, so it doesn't keep coming on and off, and so that the sterile portion of the catheter doesn't wiggle, because it will come in contact with the milk potentially. And ideally you also want to keep this straight there so it doesn't wiggle. Now you can imagine the stopcock here. I'm going to remove this container here, the lid. Now you need to apply this over your nipple and use some pressure so you have a nice seal, and then you can use the syringe to create suction and aspirate. And what you should see is your nipple actually withdraw into the specimen container, and if that gives you the letdown, that's great. If not, you can turn your stopcock, and you'll have to take this cap off and inject the air back out so that you can pull and aspirate again and create more suction. Now if you're able to get that let down, then at that point you can just use manual expression and continue to aid the milk to flow into the specimen container until you're able to relieve yourself. So this pump, this specimen container, I believe, can hold, it looks like maybe 3 to 4 ounces, but clearly it would spill, so you probably want to just fill it to about 2 ounces to relieve yourself before pouring it into another, ideally another milk bag of sorts, or another sterile container before you were to continue. But this is just a handy way to create a manual breast pump from equipment that you might find in the hospital. Thank you for watching.